Good morning, everybody. It's kind of an impromptu stream. Was on a different panel earlier. Not sure who all's here. Maybe somebody is here that saw me on the other panel earlier. The other panel is a whole different realm of thought processes, and you don't really want to get into what was all encompassed in that. But my issue is me, myself. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in psychic abilities. I don't believe that they don't exist. But I do have an open mind. If somebody finds solace in whatever they believe, why is there any wrong in that? In and of itself, if it makes somebody comfortable or feel good, where is the harm? I don't see any. If it does not affect you, why do you have to bash somebody else for having their beliefs? If you are totally unaffected by them having their beliefs, why do you have to have an opinion to where you have to say something bad to them for having their beliefs? I don't understand. I'm actually hoping that Dank Williams will come up, because I do have a few questions for him. I have to let my dogs in. I will be right back. Watch out, watch out, watch out. I'm going to come in and stand right in the way. All right. But my thing is, everybody's entitled to their opinion. If it doesn't affect you personally, why would you have a problem with it? That's the first thing that I don't understand. But apparently everybody does for whatever reason. If they have a problem with somebody else's beliefs or opinions about something. As people, we don't always have to get along. We don't always have to agree. We don't. It's not a requirement. If somebody chooses to believe whatever they believe, great for them. If you have a difference of opinion, fine, that's okay. It doesn't mean you got to beat the shit out of them for having their opinion. It's their opinion. They're entitled to it. I would respectfully request that respect be shown on my panels. I know from time to time it's going to get out of hand. I've come to accept that. It's going to happen. However, I would respectfully request that respect be shown. I don't expect it all the time, but I would kind of like to have that linger in your mindset when you come here. Yes, your First Amendment is granted here. You can say whatever you want to say. Just try and have and show some modicum of respect to people on panel, people in chat. Trolls will be tolerated only for so long. When you start getting belligerent about the trolling, first thing that's going to happen, you're going to get timed out. Nobody will automatically be blocked. I promise you that. If I notice that when I go through my block list, I'll make sure that it gets corrected. I trust my mods, but everybody has their feelers, and I understand that. Something might have been misconstrued, but things will be corrected. I'm not going to pull anybody's wrenches for whatever they say or whatever they do. That will not happen. People have wrenches because I trust them not to go behind my back to intentionally do anything to hurt me. There has been some scuttlebutt recently about Andrew having keys to different people's cars being YouTube channels. Apparently, according to him, he had mine before he got my channel terminated, so he no longer has them. He no longer has keys to the new car. So I'm going to try and keep those keys from being handed over. But apparently he's got keys to Shelly's car, and he's driving her car into the fucking ground. Just my understanding from what he said out of his own mouth. So, but anyway, I think I pretty much said what I had to say. Screw the feelings. Say what you like. Full steam ahead. Yeah, and for the most part, I agree with that. For the most part, I damn sure agree with that. I'm going to highlight that. Oh, come on. What the hell? Why can't I highlight? Am I on the wrong stream for highlighting that message? Is that what it is? Certain things you can do. There it is. Yeah, I was on the wrong looking at it from the wrong side for that. Certain actions are allowed on the StreamYard side. Other ones are only allowed on the YouTube side. You got to make sure you get the right ones to figure it out. But I wanted to highlight that because, yes, for the most part, I do agree with that. I am about First Amendment. I absolutely believe in that. That's why it's the First Amendment. And once that First Amendment falls, the rest are going to fall like dominoes. So I do believe in that First Amendment. However, there's also time and place. So that has to be taken into consideration as well. And that's where everything gets all muddied up. I guess we rely on like the Supreme Court to rule on what is deemed appropriate, acceptable, out of the scope of possibilities, out of the realm of acceptance, downright illegal. And if they could clear some of the mud out of the water, if they could filter that shit, it'd make it a lot better off for the rest of us who try and abide by the law. But with the law being muddied like it is, it makes it really difficult for normal human beings to stay abiding by the law, because the law is apparently not clear. There are so many things left to interpretation, and everything can be interpreted differently by everybody. So it's like, how do you stay right when you're trying to stay right, when you don't even know what right is? Too much interpretation involved. Let's get some cut and dry in there. But that's just my interpretation. That's my opinion, and my opinion alone. And my opinion does not necessarily reflect that of the sponsor of this program. Yeah, there has been a lot of screwed up shit, TC. Absolutely there has. Absolutely there has. But realistically, all we can do is try and live and learn by it and deal with the information given to us. That's all we can try and do. That's all we can hope to do. There's going to be stumblings. Absolutely there is. But once it becomes clear, once it's actually laid down, cut and dry, black and white, no ifs, ands, buts, nothing, then you cannot blame the SCOTUS anymore. You can't do it. Once they lay it down and they filter all the mud out of the water to where it's all clear and everybody can understand it, well, I guess they couldn't do that. Because if they did do that, then what the fuck would lawyers do? I guess that would put a lot of lawyers out of work, wouldn't it? Oh, shit. Yeah, it probably would. So they got to keep the waters muddy for a while. Because God knows if it was all clear. Shit, how many lawyers would be out of work? Oh, fuck you. We can't do that. They went to school. They paid a whole lot of money to be educated idiots. All right. But anyway, back to why I started this panel. Let's see. I'm not going to make it a secret. I was on Betty's panel yet again. And her number one troll, her number one fan, her number one pain in the ass was coming into her chat using her deceased mother's picture as an avatar with her deceased mother's name to start with, and the different variations after that. And I told him, I says, I will give you a platform to come speak on. And I am about First Amendment. And if you stop this trolling, once she ends her panel, I will start one. And I will give you a platform And you're more than welcome to come up and say whatever the hell you want to say. But to be in her chat while she's doing her panel, showing all that disrespect, it's not the time, damn sure not the place. But I'll give you a platform. Didn't want to single him out, but he realistically is the reason I started this one. Because as it stands now, I should have been asleep like 3 hours ago. Because I have a job. So I can't do streams 24/7. I have other prior obligations. But he was the main reason I started this. Whether he comes up or not, couldn't tell you. But I do have a few questions for him if he does decide to show up. Absolutely, I do. Questions that have been looming in my brain for a while. But if he don't want to come up, anybody else is welcome. I hope that's the correct link I got pinned there, because I'm not so sure, because I see one of my buddies in chat, and normally he's like the first one to come up. Oh, then I just see he says give him a half hour and he'll be back. All right, cool. I get that. Life happens. I understand that. But if anybody else would like to look at that link, you're more than welcome to also. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. I'm open to everything. TC, let's see. Let me get her channel link real quick. She does true crime. She also does tarot card readings. Her channel is not about drama. So if you're like a drama person, it's not going to be widely accepted there. Bring this up, make sure I get the right link. I think that's the right link. Okay, that's the only one that comes up. All right, so I want to go ahead and post this link for you. Come back here, and I'll paste it. That is the link to her channel. Like I said, she does true crime. She does tarot card readings for entertainment and stuff like that. But she's been recently discussing the Summer Wells case. If you're not familiar with that, Summer Wells is a 5-year-old girl that went missing in Tennessee, and her dad and her mom are like really high on the suspect list. There's a whole lot of details surrounding that, but that is her channel, and she does discuss that case quite a bit. But she's open to different cases, and she spends a lot of time each and every day researching different cases. So she has a whole bunch of research lined up when she actually goes and does a stream about a certain case. She has a lot of information readily available. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I recommend go checking it out. But yeah, that's pretty much what it's about. Yeah, yada yada yada. Well, I'm sorry, doesn't yada 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 start with a Y? Sorry, I have a warped sense of humor, but that's just me. But I was actually really hoping that Tank would come up, because I do have a couple of questions. I could speculate the answers, but I'd rather have direct answers. I think that's more important. That's a little more cut and dry. And also not subject to hearsay. Because hearsay is not legally binding. So I'd rather have direct confirmation of my answers. Well, the one that was pissing her off the most was another channel owner named Dank Williams. Depending on whose side you listen to, speculations are he has been stalking her for 3 years. They have never met. He runs around and says all this stuff. Speculation being lies or nefarious intent behind. Tonight on her stream, or just before I started this one, he was using an avatar, which was her deceased mother with her mother's name. Very low, very underhanded, very shady, very fucking sketchy at best. But that's a move that in my eyes means you need to be hit in the face with a shovel. That's what I interpret that to be, because that is low, that is dirty, that is disgusting, that is vile. And if that's the best you can do, then you need to be removed from the gene pool. Period. Glenn Lambright, what's up, brother? Long time no see. So I've not seen a whole lot of you lately, Glenn. My schedule is getting all freaking crazy. Well, actually not really crazy, but a lot of outside stuff going on. Hope you're doing good, brother. I really hope you're doing good. I hope your channel's booming. Glenn, if you want to post your link, apparently I got at least one new person in chat. Give them the link to your channel. That'd be good. I'm okay with that. Glenn Lambright is a good old boy from down Louisiana. Kind of makes me wonder if Glenn does any shrimp boils or crab boils or anything like that. I don't know, what are they? Oh, they call them hush puppies down there, don't they? The crawdads. That's what they call them, Glenn. They call them hush puppies. I get confused on different localized slang, but I think they call crawdaddies hush puppies. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. God knows I'm wrong a lot. I don't admit to it, but God knows. Damn, I wish somebody would come up and talk a little bit, because I'm running out of shit to say. But I do know one thing that I've been hearing lately, and I'm not sure how to take it. I know certain ramifications of it could be bad, and I would not be happy with it. My daughter, who has 6 children that are my grandchildren, her husband works at a state prison. He is a state employee because he works at a state prison. Apparently, the state is trying to make it mandatory for all state employees to be vaccinated for COVID. And because he doesn't want to do it, she doesn't want him to do it, and I'm in total agreement with him for not wanting to do it. They're trying to make it to where if you're not vaccinated, you will lose your job, or you will not be fired, but you will be placed on unpaid administrative leave, which means since you still have a job, you cannot qualify for unemployment. They will not fire you, but you will just remain on unpaid administrative leave until you get vaccinated. So apparently, the state can override your Fourth Amendment right to where if you want to earn money, you have to relinquish your Fourth Amendment right about being secure in your person. So, state is trying to trump federal law, and they're going to use your ability to earn income as a bargaining chip. Somehow, I'm not okay with that. I'm not sure why, but I'm not okay with that. Because God knows if somebody told me I had to get vaccinated, I would straight up say, fuck you. But that's me. Now, I don't have a wife and 6 kids relying on my income to support them. I just have, well, myself, my sister, my nephew, and 3 dogs. But I'm still not okay with that. My body, my choice. Where did that come from? Something else from the government. Why do they keep trying to violate us? I don't understand. So I guess what I'm saying is if it comes down to it, to where since I don't work in the government sector, I don't work in the public sector, I work in the private sector. If my job told me I had to be vaccinated in order to work, I would damn sure question like, why do I give up my Fourth Amendment right? That's afforded me by the Constitution of the United States of America. So why are you telling me I have to relinquish that? But apparently that's what it's coming down to. And that, I'm sorry, but to me, that is a scary thought. Would you quit your job if your job had mandatory vax? Absolutely, I would. Absolutely, I would. Or actually, no, I would not quit. I would make them fire me. I would make them fire me. You have oppositional defiance disorder. I'm not quite sure how to interpret that. I'm not oppositional defiance disorder. I didn't know that was a disorder before. I've always been one to test limits. Absolutely, I have. I, for a very long time, have bucked authority, been defiant of authority, because I've got this mindset What gives you the right to tell me what I can or can't do? Yes, Rada, I'm at a private job. I'm not government. I work in the private sector. Absolutely. No one knows less about the Constitution than DFK. Okay. Glad you feel that way, Taze. You're entitled to your opinion. Absolutely, you are. And dare I say, if you want to come up and discuss it, the link's there, just FYI, and we can discuss. Absolutely, we can. I'm open for discussion. Don't know if you are, but I am. Oh, be right back, everybody. Okay, I'm back. What ODD is a ODD is a what? A, a thing? ODD. What the hell? Oppositional. You said that earlier. Where the hell did it go? Oppositional defiance disorder. Well, I never heard that term. Okay. Hey, Taze, floor be all yours. I'm more than willing to have a discussion with you, Taze. And in case you weren't aware, I actually had to go back through my YouTube thing and saw that you got blocked, and I unblocked you, just so you know. So if you'd like to come up and have a conversation, that'd be awesome. I don't know exactly where you and I had a big falling out. I remember you and I were talking, oh shit, months ago, and we seemed to do okay. And then apparently something went wrong somewhere. And like I say, just shit like a week ago, within the last week, I was going through the blocked users on my channel and I saw your name there. It's like, how the fuck did he get there? But that's why you're here now, because I saw you there. It's like, I didn't have a problem with you. I don't know why you ended up there, but somehow you did. It doesn't tell. The bad part is, it would be really nice if um, if you could go through the blocked users, see who's blocked and who put them there. That would be cool. That would be really cool. I would recommend that to YouTube, or would it be YouTube? Well, yeah, I go through my YouTube community. I see blocked users there. It'd be nice if when someone ends up on your blocked list, it showed parentheses about the mod or whoever put them there. That way, the channel owner would know. It's like, oh, so start seeing people on your blocked list and who put them there. You could link whose rent you need to take away. Oh, are you sure about that though, Taze? RADA, as far as that goes, being secure in your person, papers, and effects and housing. That's how that applies. So if they're saying you have to get vaccinated, well, it's like, no, by Fourth Amendment, you cannot violate my body, period. If I'm incorrect about that assumption, please come up and explain. That'd be awesome. I'd love to hear it. Or that crazy ass thing. See, again, Taze, I don't know. It doesn't say who put you there. I don't see that. I just saw that you were there and I fixed that. Well, Rada, it seems like you have all the answers. Please come up and explain to us. Enlighten us. Because we need to know, but I'm just saying that's my interpretation. I would love to be correct in what I'm saying. I would absolutely love that. I mean, I don't want to be spewing bad information. I would love to be able to give correct information. I'd love to. So if I'm incorrect, please explain why I'm incorrect. Who else? Oh, I know I'm not an appeals court. Absolutely, I'm not. I never made any claim to be an appeals court. I'm giving like layman's terms of understanding of what the law says. And well, with you saying that, Rada, are you? Let's see. Let me go back and make sure I get this right. It's not a play. But you are. So, Rada, are you a lawyer or an appeals court? I'm just curious. Just curious. I mean, I admit I'm not a lawyer. I admit that. And I admit I'm not an appeals court. But then it comes back, are you? I said my interpretation. How does that make me a lawyer? How does that make me an appeals court? I'm confused. Oh. Oh, shit. Okay, I'll take a chance. Hold on. Give me a second. I've not seen that confirmation. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay. I just never saw that YouTube confirmation. Okay. Okay. He asked me. Bye-bye. Okay, that was cool. That was interesting. So I'm not sure what you had to say.
You don't even have your freaking thing set up. I didn't even have to sign in to get up here.
Don't have what thing set up?
The verification thing.
Well, no, the YouTube verification, I saw what it said. Do you want me to repeat what it said? What the YouTube verification was?
Well, type it in chat in case I'm on one of my stock accounts.
Okay.
I mean, type it in private chat.
I knew what you meant. Give me a second to get there. I'm gonna figure where shit's at.
Now, the reason why I'm saying, because you said you interpreted the Fourth Amendment that way, and that's why I was asking if you were a lawyer or an appeals court. I've never claimed to be. I've never claimed to interpret.
Well,
the Fourth
isn't that what? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what the Fourth Amendment says? The right to be secure in your person, papers, house, and effects. Isn't that what it says?
Well,
Okay.
No.
What your YouTube verification is now in private chat. That's how it came up. I'd never seen that before. So it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
All right. Yeah, I don't know why that came up, but all right, I got to correct that.
All right, but I'm just saying that's what came up.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why I didn't ask me to sign in first, but yeah, no, I'm just looking around the internet and let's see.
Okay, well, I'm actually done with that link, so I can eliminate that. But now, let's see. No, I'll close that and I'll just Google search. Well, search it verbatim. That'd probably be the easiest way. Fourth Amendment.
Well, I mean, there is a court case that goes back to, I think it's 1905, which happened in Massachusetts, where Massachusetts required folks who get vaccinated for the smallpox outbreak. And I believe it did go all the way up. I believe it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Yeah, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court in 1905. And they basically decided that, hold on, however, the decision, so, I mean, this here says, is it, yeah, all right. So, because I had to look it up because I remember hearing about it and whatever. So the question is, can the government force you to get a vaccine? The COVID-19 vaccine is the greatest advancement of medical science ever, but while the vaccine represents a welcome key to finally overcoming the COVID-19, it has also renewed the questions surrounding the government's involvement in our health. Confusion and debate around the vaccine eligibility or vaccine passports all lead to one central question: can the government force you to get a vaccine? Some say yes. Some say the obvious answer is yes, pointing out 1905 U.S. Supreme Court decision of the case before of Jacobson versus Massachusetts. However, that decision, which upheld the mandatory vaccine law in the Bay State, is an imperfect guide to resolve today's vaccine debate.
Okay. Well, I did a Google search just now, and I searched Fourth Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up with a whole bunch of stuff. The 14th Amendment. Well, no, I'm not searching the 14th Amendment. I'm searching the Fourth Amendment. But finally, the last one came up on the first page, says Amendment 4, the U.S. Constitution online, usconstitution.net. And that is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched. So, right there, securing your person. Your person. That's the first part of it. Secure in your person. So, why are you saying I have to subject myself to whatever it is you're saying I have to have? Isn't that like a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment? Because you're making me not secure in my person? It's got to be there. I don't know how you could misinterpret that. So you say I've got to get injected with something? I have to give up my personal.
So the Fourth Amendment is more for search and seizure, being that the government cannot force you to jump against the wall and pull shit out of your pockets that could incriminate you. That's more of what being secure in your person is. It's not. It doesn't. I don't know if it's ever been interpreted into like vaccines or giving you a mandatory vaccine, though.
Okay. Well, let's say. Let's see. How do I get this point across? Okay, so if you were arrested for suspicion of being under the influence of something, okay, we'll simplify it. You got pulled over for a DUI, and they took you down to the police station or the jail, wherever they take you to, and they say you got to blow in this machine, and you say no. Well, just by having a driver's license, that's part of it. You signed a document saying that you would agree to do that. Well, if you refuse, they can get a judge to issue a warrant for a blood draw, and you would have no choice at that point. And if you didn't do it, then you resisted a search warrant, and you could have extra penalties put on you because of that. So they can get you, they can poke you for their benefit because of that warrant. So where's the difference? Whether they're poking you to get something out of you or whether they're poking you to get something into you, it still requires a warrant. So how can that apply?
So, I mean, right there, you're kind of comparing apples to elephants because, first of all, driving is not a right, it's a privilege. So, you don't have a right to drive, you don't have a right to get a license. Like, the government can refuse it at any time.
Absolutely.
So, when you do get your driver's license, you take some sort of, test and everything, whether you start out in school or you take some sort of test and then you get. And by you agreeing to a driver's license, you agree to follow the laws of the state or commonwealth that you live in. Of course, different states, I mean, we can debate about breathalyzers and drawing blood. I mean, in my state, they can only draw blood if a death resulting. You can refuse the breathalyzer on the first try. You automatically, state to state, it's throughout the states, all the laws different on that. So as far as that goes, and that would be, yes, that would fall under the Fourth Amendment because they're trying to grab something out of you to use it as a court case against you. However, a vaccine, they're not using it against you to incriminate you. And a vaccine has nothing to do with search and seizure. Like, basically, search and seizure applies to that drunk driving case or whatever, like that breathalyzer, because they're trying to draw something out of you and they're trying to use it against you in a court of law, which is whether it's illegal or not, or if they did it, they weren't supposed to do it.
Okay,
vaccines, they're not trying to use it against you. They're trying to use it for, as whether we want to argue the point or not, for the greater good of all throughout the country.
Okay.
So it's not going to affect you as far as being in trouble with the law. However, also, the Fourth Amendment, like somebody put, Tay's auditors laugh like hell, put Fourth Amendment applies to the government, not McDonald's. There are many lawyers out there that are labor lawyers that have gone ahead and said, listen, you absolutely have a right to refuse the vaccine. If your employer comes to you and says, you need to get the vaccine to continue work here, you absolutely have a right to say no. However, you don't have a right to keep your job either. You don't have a right. There's no constitutional right or anything that says you have to have a job.
How do you prove that you've had the vaccine?
So they're giving out these little passports, pretty much.
TC Bog, welcome.
And do you have the right not to show that?
Private businesses, I'm kind of reading it. It looks like right now it's between states.
Okay, I want to take over for a minute. I want to welcome TC Boggs.
Hello, TC.
TC Boggs is someone I've never seen anywhere prior to now. Got my guard up. What's going on, TC? How you doing?
What's going on? Trying
to. You're roboting.
All right?
You're roboting a bit. You're roboting a bit.
That didn't work.
Let me try and drop you down, bring you right back up. Okay, that sometimes helps. Give me just a second. How about now?
Yeah,
there?
I'm just trying to get the thing on my Bluetooth. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. Okay, so if you have YouTube and StreamYard open, go to the YouTube side and mute that, prevent echoes.
Yeah, I already did that. I just got you on the
Okay.
StreamYard thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I just want to reiterate what the guy was saying. Sorry, the script is small, I can't really see it. But the federal Constitution is there to express the powers and the limitations of the federal government. So, what you're talking about on the vaccine mandates is that, yeah, the federal government does not possess the authority to just come arrest you for not complying with a in this case a vaccine mandate. Doesn't mean they can't apply other pressures to you to do what they want. And in this case, they're going through the employers. And the employers, well, I mean, they have the right to whatever stipulations they want to put on there to as at-will employment. You know what I mean? The problem is that doing what they're doing is going to really open them up to liability, because say that you're already an employee for a company and now the terms of employment requires you to get the vax, even though the science really isn't out on the long-term ramifications, and say you die from the vaccine later on. Well, that's going to open them up to liability, because you can't go after the vaccine companies, but you can go after the companies requiring you to get the vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, the Constitution is fluid. Like laws are always fluid. They're always like up to interpretation. Somebody challenges that. Depending on what Supreme Court you get, what justices you get, they could always change their mind. I mean, 10 years down the road, somebody could say, hey, listen, I don't want to get a vaccine. They take it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and you may have a Supreme Court that says, yeah, you're right, you don't have to get a vaccine. And this was all, hogwash, and that's the way it does. I mean, that's the way it works.
Well, it's just like back in the day, like 20 years ago, these people working in the factories and the warehouses were working around asbestos all the time because it's a fire retardant. Well, fast forward to nowadays, and all you see on TV during daytime programming, hey, did you get mesothelioma because you worked around asbestos all the time? It was perfectly legal back then, but they're still liable.
Right.
So that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah, so what's going to happen when it comes down to where everybody's losing their jobs because they don't want to get vaccinated? Is the welfare system going to support everybody?
No. Eventually, if people go through enough civil disobedience, there just won't be enough workers to go around, and the economy would collapse. So there will be a breaking point where they would have to backtrack on some of these policies, and that's how that works. They want you to do something, you don't want to do it. They dig in their heels, you dig in yours, and then eventually one side or the other is going to have to break, right? So, but if millions of people say, no, you know what? The science isn't on the vax. It may help right now, but we don't know if it's going to cause cancer like 15 years from now. We don't want to do it. Well, you get like 20, 30, 50 million people. That's too much of a drag on the economy. They would have to backtrack.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I know firsthand, last weekend, I went down to my local Burger King to try and get food, and it took me 20 minutes to get through the drive-thru because they were so understaffed because of all this COVID outbreak and stuff. Workers not coming to work.
That's not so much the reason why they're understaffed.
No, they're getting paid to sit on ass through the unemployment benefits.
They're getting paid very well. Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the
jobs are out there? So I'm sorry, but the ones that have been flying cardboard signs at Walmart parking lots for decades need work, need help. Anything helps. Fuck, everybody's hiring. And even fast food places now are starting to people out $15 an hour because they're so screwed for help.
Well, again, you're comparing apples to elephants. Like those folks probably have been out of the workforce for so long that they don't have a resume or they don't have the job skills. You have to talk about the people that were working at Burger King last year And now they're not there anymore because they're at home because they got laid off, and they're collecting a lot more money because they're staying home, and they're like, I'm not going to go back to work. Like, okay,
Yep.
I'm making maybe $100 less a week or whatever, but I get to stay home every week and do whatever the hell I
Yep.
want.
But the only problem is that maybe they don't realize is eventually that unemployment's going to run out. And then what?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are so short-sighted that I mean, I believe some of it has run out, and now the clock has stopped ticking, and it's time to go get a job. I'm not. I think in some states it did, but to
Yeah,
go
so
back to your
actually, that's a very valid point because that basically answered my question. So when the unemployment runs out, then what? Well, just go down and fill an application, get a job right immediately. Problem solved.
so you're going back to hold the whole yeah, excuse me, people getting laid off or getting them thrown out. So there are states right now that are actually requiring all healthcare workers to be vaccinated, which is basically all the way up from hospitals, nursing homes,
Yep.
and all
First
such
responders.
first responders, and right down the line. Now, some states vary it, saying that, okay, if you don't get a vaccine, all right, then every week we're going to throw a swab down your nose, and that's some. But some are just saying, all right, you need to get vaccinated by, say, let's October 1st, or you're out of a job. Like, we gave you plenty of time. Now you're out of a job. So now they're actually, I believe New York right now, there's several states that are, or several entities that are filing for injunctions right now, a temporary restraining order to kind of hold it in place. So, I mean, I guess we'll see eventually like what's going to happen with it, because again, that's how laws work. It's like, all right, you need to do this by this, but you can't get a restraining order until the law is passed. So now that they passed the law, now the restraining order comes out and says, okay, now we need to go ahead and see why we need the restraining order, what's going to happen, and where do we go from here. So I guess New York is going to be one of those. It's going to be a trial test, and we're going to see what happens from there. But
Thank
you're
God
right.
I'm
I mean,
in New York.
What's that?
I said, thank God I'm not in New York.
Well, I mean, New York is good. Well, I mean, it's for healthcare workers. So, I mean,
Well, see, I know at my job, my manager came around to me like 2 weeks ago, within the last 2 weeks, asking about my vaccine level. I said, vaccine? He says, yeah, for COVID. It's like, I've not had it. He says, oh, you don't have the second one yet? It's like, no, I didn't have the first one yet. I'm not going to. He says, well, why not? He says, because I don't trust my government. He says, okay. I mean, that's where it is. I do not trust my government.
yeah, right now, Florida is, I don't know any other states, but I know Florida is one of the states that actually does not require businesses, where businesses cannot ask for proof of vaccination, pretty much. Like, I guess they just kind of have to assume that the person, yep, I'm vaccinated. All right, cool. Where other states, it's like, all right, I need to see a CDC card saying that you were vaccinated.
I say, wouldn't that be like a violation of HIPAA?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I would think it would be a right to medical privacy.
Information.
No, because your business is not HIPAA compliant. Like, you have to be HIPAA compliant in order, like, asking you if you're vaccinated, asking you like, all right, well, you're vaccinated. Okay. You can't get vaccinated. Okay. Why can't you get vaccinated would be like kind of a HIPAA vibe. But again, your business is not HIPAA. Your business is not like HIPAA compliant. So, I mean, HIPAA applies more to medical settings, like medical facilities. Like, all right, you come into, all right, a hospital, I care for you as a nurse, all right, whatever. If I tell a doctor about your treatment or whatever, that's not HIPAA. If I tell the police that, because if it's an assault or something, that's not HIPAA. But if I go home and tell like a family member, oh yeah, I had DFK in the hospital today, I saw this, he had that, that's HIPAA, because I'm giving information to somebody that's not supposed to have it. Because as a healthcare worker, I would be HIPAA compliant. I would have to go through the HIPAA training. In order to violate HIPAA, you have to actually go through HIPAA training.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
see,
The employers have the right to ask you about your personal medical information.
I'm sorry, Tom, I can't hear you.
Do the employers have the right to ask you about your personal medical information?
to a certain degree, yes.
Yeah. Well, what certain degree is that?
I
understand if it's
as
a
far
contract.
as saying, do they have a right to? No, I mean they don't have a right to, but they can ask you. But you can also say no also, and then violate like whatever, like right now the vaccine. Like if they ask you, have you been vaccinated? You have a right to say, I don't want to tell you, but they also have the right to say, well, you need to tell me or you're going to lose your job. There's no right in that case. It's
Well, I remember back in like 2008, 2009, I was a volunteer firefighter, and we got toned out for an ambulance call. And we were at the house, and one of the neighbors was asking what's going on. And my response was, somebody's having a medical issue. And they said, well, what is it? I said, someone's having a medical issue. And I left it at that. I would not say anything more. Because had I, being in that position, being a first responder to that call, had I said anything, I know that would have been a HIPAA violation.
So that neighbor can come over, hang out on the, look at the person, and then that neighbor can tell everybody in the neighborhood, oh yeah, I saw them go in the ambulance. I saw them getting their leg wrapped up. I saw them with a gunshot wound. They can tell anybody they want. However, because you're in the situation where you probably should have been, if you're going on ambulance runs, you should have been HIPAA trained. You cannot say it because you're supposed to be HIPAA compliant. You are trained for HIPAA, or you should have been trained for HIPAA.
Yeah. And somebody said, "What's going on?" Says, "Just here for an ambulance call."
That's correct. Like if you said anything, or you could say why. Like because again, people can listen to scanners and say, they have an itchy vagina or whatever. I mean, it's discretion. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Oh, we came here for an itchy vagina. Technically, you could because you're not applying it to a person. Like when you apply it to a person in the house, you have to use a name. Oh, this certain person. Yep. Yeah, they have this or that, whatever. But if you're at a call, somebody's sick. I mean, yep, you can say that. I mean, you have to actually give like identifiable characters, like, identify the person and like apply like some sort of diagnosis to them or why you're there. So, I mean, on scanners, people don't listen to scanners all the time and hear why the fire truck or the ambulance is going to a house. But if you notice too, back in the day, they also used to use last names, like, oh, the such and such residence. But once HIPAA came around, and then that started slowing down. Same thing with now with HIPAA, that got rid of the old hospital radios where you'd call in through a radio being like, all right, I'm coming in with a 46-year-old female, blah, blah, blah. Because now anybody can hear this person because you're given some information that you shouldn't be like, you have to provide privacy, where if you're talking on a radio, somebody can pick up a scanner and now you no longer provided the privacy for them.
Okay,
so
well, I don't know about
applying it to a business. No, it's not HIPAA. It's not a HIPAA violation.
I'm not so sure about that. What you just said about the radio calls, because I know one hospital that's close by me. They have a radio for local fire departments and stuff like that, and they can give the hospital a heads up saying, "Hey, we're coming in with describe the person, describe the issues going on, without giving names."
Right. Yeah. No.
So
right.
that's there, but they don't give names.
Yeah. No. You don't. You can't give anything identifiable. Right. Yeah. No. That you can say, but now they have computers where you type in the patient's name and you put in all the information. You shoot it off to the hospital. It makes it a lot easier. That information you can't say on the radio.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you can actually type in. You can actually pre-register the patient. Not pre-register them, but it makes it a little bit easier for tracking. You put the name, history, everything, what's going on, but it's on a computer and it's on a secure network and it throws it right to the hospital. That you wouldn't be able to do on the radio, where you can say like, all right, yeah, I have a 45-year-old female, because you can't identify that person. Yeah, somebody could go along and say, oh yeah, that's Jimmy Jones or whatever. He's going to the hospital, whatever, and listen to the scanner and put it all together. But you've tried. There's only so much of an expectation of privacy. Unless you put a sheet over that person's head before you take them out of the hospital and throw them in the back of an ambulance, there's still so much private limitations you can do.
Yeah, throwing a sheet over there.
That would definitely actually spelling HIPAA right. I appreciate that. I wouldn't think any less of corrosive, anyways. First,
Oh
I know.
no, I would never think less of corrosive. He was in the other stream that I was in, and he got timed out, and I wasn't sure why he got timed out. I can't remember exactly what it was he said at this moment in time, but he got timed out for something. And the one that timed him out says, no, I'll vouch for him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I don't mean I kind of said that wrong. I didn't mean I didn't think of any less. I wouldn't expect anything less of him than spelling it incorrectly. I apologize. But HIPAA, it somebody will come up to you or they'll type in the room, oh, that's a violation of HIPPA. Well, all right, you've never read HIPAA because you can't even use the acronym correctly, so I'm going to dismiss that argument. I mean, it has to do. I mean, HIPAA originally started with health insurance because Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act. That's what HIPAA stands for. So it originally started with health insurance, and then they trickled it down to medical workers and everything. So you can't give again, like you going to the break room and blowing off steam talking about patients. Yeah, it's borderline HIPAA, but it's between healthcare professionals. It can be used for training purposes. Could be held for QA, QO. And so forth. But they can't just leave the hospital and just start talking about all their friends. But the moral of my story is that you have to be HIPAA compliant. Like, your employer is not HIPAA compliant. Your employer does not have anything that says that they have to be bound by HIPAA. So, for instance, how that applies now to the COVID vaccine is because the COVID vaccine, COVID has been declared a national emergency. So let's use another example. Okay, herpes. Just because I see somebody said they need brain herpes. All right, herpes is not considered a national emergency. So now all bets are nothing can be.
I need brain herpes. Please give them to me.
So your employer cannot just say, we've had a herpes outbreak here at work. I need to know if you have herpes so I can, warn everybody else. No, absolutely not. Your employee can't ask for that because it's never been declared a national emergency. They can't, ask for any kind of, to see if you've gone through any treatment or anything. That's where it's dropped. That's where the line is drawn. But as far as COVID, because COVID has been declared a national emergency, it's been declared epidemic, a pandemic, going from there. Your employer is allowed now to ask you, have you had the COVID vaccine?
But when will it get to a stage where we get stopped by the police and they keep asking, have you had the COVID vaccine?
So people are worried about that, but I don't see why the police would do that. Right now it's like, again, that's... So right there, that may be your Fourth Amendment violation, because if they declare it a law that you have to have COVID vaccine and they don't have any reason, I don't know, it's a far stretch to apply our Fourth Amendment, at least, violating somebody's Fourth Amendment, which is basically you have to get some sort of a warrant or some sort of reasonable hold on, I'll drop the link. Yeah, I have the. Hold on, I'll drop the link to you. Hold on, but you have to have some sort of. He's on a potty break, so I'll drop it. So you have to have some sort of it applies different from violating laws. It's you're not. I get it. You're breaking the law. If the government comes down and says you have to have the COVID vaccine, which right now I don't think it's mandatory, through law. So that's how the governments are using businesses to ask for it, and that's how the government's kind of sidestepping the whole. The government still recommends or highly recommends that you have the COVID vaccine, but how they're sidestepping it is they're saying, all right, well, let's have businesses or healthcare workers or whatever get the vaccine. We'll let them deal with it because the law doesn't really apply to. Well, I get it, civil rights laws, but because there's been research, because it's a national emergency, that even civil rights laws don't apply in this case for that in particular, for the vaccine.
Ooh, feedback.
I think somebody's backstage. That's why. DFK went to go pee, so he'll be back.
No, I'm back.
Oh, there he is.
Isn't I saw the link you dropped. It's like that's the same one that's pinned at the top.
Is it? I didn't even see. I'm on StreamYard, so oh yeah, it is up there.
Oh, Taze
I'm
was
on
up. He
StreamYard.
dropped.
Pinned, yeah.
Taze was up. He dropped.
But yeah, no, I mean HIPAA that only applies to folks who are HIPAA compliant or required HIPAA, like hospitals, healthcare centers, certain stuff in that nature. It's very rare that it would be applied to a private employer, unless, I mean, the only thing I can think of is even then, I don't even know how it would be applied. Like if you're dealing with medical information, but even then you would have to be trained in HIPAA to know what you cannot disseminate.
Yeah, it's like
Hey, DFK, listen, your employer has a large range of what they can ask you for medically. I'm retired, but I had a commercial license. Now, in order to have a commercial driver's license, you have to carry a medical card with you.
right.
And
I understand that.
you
I've
have
known a few truck drivers. Yes.
okay, well, you got to get a physical. Now, the longest that you can go between physicals is 2 years. And usually only like the very youngest guys pass a physical good enough to get a 2-year card. When I first started out, man, I used to get 2-year cards all the time. And then as you get a little bit older, your blood pressure gets, maybe you have high blood pressure or whatever. And that's a big issue with the blood pressure. So if you're treated by blood pressure, if you're treated for high blood pressure, medication or whatever, even if you have it under control, and it has to be under control for you to get your medical card, even if it's under control, they will only give you a 1-year card. So every year I had to go and get a new medical card. Now that meant a physical, a DOT physical. You couldn't just go to any doctor. You had to go to a DOT approved doctor. So after the physical, they would give you your new card, and they would give you a copy of your physical. Now, you would have to take those and make copies of it and send one copy to the state, and one copy you'd have to give to your employer. Now, it had everything in there: your height, your weight, your blood pressure, the prescribed medications you take. It has basically everything about you medically, and they have to keep it in your personnel file. So they do have a large range of what they can do. Now, you refuse to take a vaccine. If it only affected you, I'd say, hey, more power to you, man. But I'll tell you what, if one of my loved ones caught it because you had it and you had refused to take the vaccine, and they die. And if they could prove it was caused by you, as far as I'm concerned, you committed murder.
Yep, and I'd be inclined to agree with that because I'd feel the exact same way you do. I'd feel the exact same way.
You'd be fine to murdering one of my loved ones or somebody else's loved ones? I mean, I don't get that, DFK.
No, I am saying I would agree with your view on that. Absolutely, I would.
So I understand how you don't trust the government or whatever, and I'm not saying that you should trust the government. But what do you think they're going to do in these vaccines? What could they possibly do that's going to harm you?
Well, let's look at it this way. Okay, let's look on the other side. At first, they were saying a mask.
Right? They did that for the Spanish flu too.
And it was going to be 2 weeks. And then it went to 6 weeks.
This whole thing's been fluid.
And then they're requiring higher quality masks. And then they're requiring vaccines. And then after you get the vaccine, you're still not free of getting fucking COVID.
Yeah.
So when do you believe it's a total fucking lie?
DFK, were you around for smallpox?
I think that you're
smallpox is what 19 what?
They've had smallpox problems ever since.
Like that? No, I wasn't around then.
Were you vaccinated against smallpox?
I'm not sure. I'm
guaranteed you were, DFK. If you went to public school, you were vaccinated.
Okay.
So, do you think by now they would get what smallpox is and know how to eradicate it? Which they pretty much almost did, but I mean, it's still out there, but it's pretty much almost eradicated. Do you see? I mean, do you think it took? Do you think it was overnight or a year before they eradicated smallpox, which was like a pandemic, back in the early 1900s?
Give me a second. I
The
got
moral
it.
of my story is that, like, what Taze was pretty much alluding to is that, like, it's fluid. It's he's absolutely correct. It's fluid because this is a brand new disease. If we don't know about it, we threw masks on because, all right, well, we figured out it was through respiratory. All right, throw a mask on. All right, we figured out.
Is
All
that
right,
you, TC?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
All right. Yeah, now it's working with my headset. I had a phone call and deal with some other bullshit. But thanks for letting me back on.
Well, that's all right. I was just ahead of the voice. Heard the one the first time. Made a lot of sense.
so we figured out, all right, so masks are not working. Let's throw on double mask. All right, that's not working. Again, it's like Taze said, it's fluid.
A
It's
learning
like,
curve.
we're still learning about it. It's probably not going to be a couple of years before we figure it out, like truly figure it out, and then figure out how to stop it. This is what we have now to stop it or slow it down. This is what's working now. Like it took us a couple of years, but this is what's slowing it down now. However, with all these other variants coming in because people were refusing to wear masks or people were going out in the close proximity and people were just hanging all over each other because what they were told not
Yep.
to do. Now
And
we have
I
a
will
variant.
go on record and say that my uncle passed like a week and a half ago from the Delta variant.
Right. That's because
See,
it multiplied. It mutated.
Well, a lot of the problems with the mask specifically and the other therapeutics is that Fauci lied to the citizens, saying that masks weren't effective because they were trying to make sure that people didn't panic buy the masks so they can keep it for the healthcare workers. And then once enough was available on demand, then they say, oh, you can wear the masks again. But they're never really upfront with the people why the masks are effective. It's not to stop the virus. It's to stop you from, to limit the spread when you cough and sneeze.
Right. That's one of the big misconceptions. A lot of people think that it's to protect you. It's to protect the guy next to you.
Right.
It's like a surgeon. They don't wear the mask to protect themselves. They're protecting the patient.
So they don't spit into an open wound.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, and if it works well in an operating sterile situation, we maybe should be wearing whatever they wear.
So,
Right,
but I do like that argument, the whole argument about why should I wear a mask when it doesn't protect me or whatever? Well, that's great and all, but if everybody wore, and I'm not going to get into the mask debate, but just using that simple logic, it seems like people throw out all these logics and they forget to apply it reverse. So they'll say, the mask doesn't stop, so why should I, it's not going to stop me from getting it, so why should I wear a mask? Well, all right, then use reverse logic where, all right, if you wear a mask and they wear a mask, then do you think it might slow it down?
Yeah, and something that was just said, me, myself, I don't like wearing a mask, but I never consider the people that are around me. But something that was just said made a lot of sense. I have a very strong immune system. For whatever reason, I do. And maybe those people around me don't have such a strong immune system. So maybe I should wear the mask in consideration of them as opposed to myself. Because
let me give you an example. Let me give you a quick example. So I live in Texas. Now, right now, we're not required to wear masks. And I hate wearing a mask, man. But I always keep one in my pocket. So I had to get some papers notarized. And I used to go to a notary and pay for it. And then I found out, hey, you can go to a library and they'll notarize your papers for free. So I had to get something notarized. So I went to the library and I kind of stuck my head in the door. Because, library is a city thing. It's a government thing. So I stuck my head in the door and I said, hey, you guys require masks? And they go, no, it's up to you. So I walked in without a mask. And the librarian and I went off to go sit at a table for her to go over my papers and notarize them, and she was wearing a mask. And I said to her, I said, I noticed you're wearing a mask. Would you be more comfortable if I put one on? And she said, that's entirely up to you. And I said, hey, look, if you're willing to protect me, I'm willing to protect you. So I put one on. So, that's why I keep one in my pocket. As much as I hate wearing it, if I can make somebody feel more comfortable, it doesn't cost me anything to do that.
Right. Well, I mean, but the thing is, why people
Taze.
are the reason people are butting heads with the government on this is because the government has been lying, and they putting out misinformation. And
Is it
when they're actually
misinformation, or is it what they're learning as we go along?
No, it's just like I said before. They knew the masks were effective at limiting the spread of your water droplets when you cough or sneeze. So you're not crop dusting the chips that you're picking up that you didn't wash your hands with, and then you're paying for it at the register, and it's just spreading around that way. They absolutely lied about Fauci. Bald-faced lied to the public about masks not being effective. So when they're trying to reverse course and get good information out there, they've already kneecapped their credibility.
Well, everybody wants the government to come out with an answer like right now. You do something right now. And, sometimes that's not the best course of action.
But the problem is now you have people that are wearing masks when they're by themselves driving down the road.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you come out with the misinformation, it goes both ways. You're going to have extreme. You got extremes at both ends. You know what I mean? So they should have just been upfront and truthful with the public from the very beginning.
Well, however, I mean, you bring up a good point where the government, I want the government to give me an answer, and it wants to give me now. Well, all right, let's look at other governments. Europe locked down, Canada locked down, Australia locked down.
Oh, yeah, right, between states. You can't even travel between states.
Oh, not in America. We can't do that. I have rights. I have a right to go to the store and pick up, shit. Not my groceries, but just like shit that I don't need. Like other governments tried it, and we decided, nope, that's not what we're going to follow.
Well, that's because we didn't want to look like China, where they were welding people in their apartments.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. You were talking about vaccines and diseases that once were fairly, were rampant. And a lot of times those diseases meant death. Like it used to be, if you were a kid, you got measles, you were probably going to die. Smallpox, you were going to die. And we had pretty much eradicated all those diseases until we started basically opening the country to anybody that wants to come in from third world countries that didn't have those vaccines. And a lot of those diseases started to make a comeback here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, measles broke out in my community a couple of years ago. But, man, it's just... Shit, I lost my train of thought, man. Sorry, traffic.
Oh, they just jump around you while you're driving? Oh, shit, I hate that. Kids wearing masks to do the surgery.
Oh, that's what it was. The misconception with the vaccine is that you cannot be a carrier and not spread the virus. And that's not true. You can be vaccinated and still spread the virus. I know you were talking about where if your loved one caught the virus from somebody that was unvaccinated. It doesn't matter if they're vaccinated or not. You can still carry the virus. You can still carry the virus and spread it to an unvaccinated person. It's not a panacea.
I think the government has come out, like at least the local health department here has come out and said that. It's just right now they're encouraging people to get vaccines because it lessens the effects of if you were to catch COVID.
Yeah, it's just like wearing I use an analogy of wearing a bulletproof vest.
Right.
Some protection's better than nothing. Yeah, you're still going to get shot by the bullet. It hits the plate. It's still going to hurt like hell.
It's still going to hurt like a son of a bitch.
But you have a better chance of recovering from it than if you didn't have the protection. That's what I liken it to.
Yeah, wearing a helmet while you're riding a motorcycle. Yeah, it's going to protect your head, but you're still going to break your back.
Exactly. And from what my understanding, the vaccines are only going to be so effective because it's the type of virus it is. It's a coronavirus. That's a classification. It's just like the influenza or common cold. They're all the same type of viruses. They're categorically they're coronaviruses, and they have a high propensity to mutate. And so these vaccines are only good for so long, and that's what they're bitching
Yeah.
about. It's like that's what the government's griping about. It's like, okay, we bought all these vaccines. We need everyone to take it right now to kill this particular variant, just like the flu vax, right? Because it doesn't. It's not a cure all for every type of flu out there. Just whatever's prevalent that flu season. So that's why you have to
Right.
get one every. And yeah,
And
so
that's and they're betting on that. I mean, because they say this is what's coming out this year, and they could be wrong.
yeah, and that's the problem with this the type of the coronavirus category is because it does mutate so quickly that you really have to be on top of the vaccines because and everyone has to take it all at once basically. Otherwise, it just continues to mutate. And it can mutate into something good, or like the old SARS and MERS and the swine flu, bird flu. They mutated in a way where it wasn't as uh, contagious to people. It mutated out of where it's going to be contagious so much to people, but that's not saying that it couldn't become super virulent.
I'm talking to people that have had the COVID and obviously recovered. And a couple of them said, man, it was the worst sickness I've ever had. And I'm still not completely over it as far as I still feel weak and blah, blah, blah. And then other people say, well, it wasn't good, but it wasn't really that bad. So, I guess a lot depends on you. But you know what? The one thing you can never know, and you will never know, is how many times, DFK, did somebody that you love not catch the virus because somebody around them was wearing their mask?
Oh, would never
If they
know.
hadn't been wearing the mask, they might have got it. You can never know that. It may have happened a dozen times, and you'll never know that.
Oh, it might have happened 100 times.
And your uncle might have got it from somebody who just didn't care and walked around without the mask. So,
Yeah.
Who knows?
Absolutely would never
I
know.
noticed that in Texas, ever since they made it where you didn't have to wear a mask, it seems to me like more people wear it now than when it was required.
Yeah. Now that's not to say that COVID's very real, and I got the vaccine. I got the Pfizer vaccine on my own free will. But I can understand why people are pissed at the mandate because the science really
people don't
isn't
like
in.
to be told. People like to do what they're told to do. I mean, but I at the very beginning of this, when this first started, I said, hey, make wearing a mask to protect yourself. No, you can't do it. Then everybody would put a mask on.
Well, no. See, you want to know something? When this first started coming out, there were ads on radios looking for volunteers, about government looking for volunteers to try out these new vaccines. And I seriously thought about that because me knowing my immune system, I thought I'd be a good candidate to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a double-blind study, which you don't know whether you're getting the vaccine or you're just getting a placebo.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I waited so long to get it myself. I settled on the Pfizer vac because it's not a traditional vaccine where they're giving you an inert version of the virus and your body fights it off. But I wanted to make sure people weren't going to be dropping dead in the streets from the vaccine either.
I wanted. I waited till the VA started giving them, and they gave the Moderna, I think, pretty much throughout the whole country. So that's why I got the Moderna, and I got them both. And they have the boosters coming out, but they won't give you the booster till at least 6 months after your second shot.
Yeah. And see, if I didn't wait, and all these vaccines were hitting the market, then I might have settled on the Johnson & Johnson. You know, because that's more of a traditional vaccine where it's an inert virus. But the problem is, people were getting blood clots from it. All right, so that's why I waited, and that's why I settled on the Pfizer personally. I mean, you can do whatever you want because we're all grown ass adults, but that's what I settled on. But I wanted to wait as long as I did, even though I have a lot of the comorbidities that people are griping. I'm a fat ass. You know, I have asthma. I'm middle aged, so I have a lot going against me as far as the COVID goes, and I already had it
You're
once.
middle-aged, so you're a baby.
I'm 46.
Well, I'll tell you,
depending on where you're at.
You're a baby.
I have
Oh
a pretty
my
good
God, you're a
relationship with my
baby.
doctor, my VA doctor, and I have a heart condition, and basically he told me, dude, if you get it, you're a goner. So that's the kind of relationship we have. I mean, he'll be completely open and
Yeah,
honest.
if you get told we got to put you on a ventilator, be very scared.
Oh yeah, I know. My dad put my brother
Well,
on
no,
one,
I
and
just
then
come to realize that.
they took him off, and they said, "Hey, look, he's gonna. As soon as we take him off, he's gonna go. It's just a matter of how long." And he went like within an hour.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I'm also an over-the-road truck driver, so I know a lot what you're talking about with the medical card. You know, I got to wear the damn CPAP, so I only get a 1 year at a time, and
Yeah,
it's a drag. But I don't know how many drivers I've spoken with all across the country talking about people they know or their own family members that have died from this infection, and I think the most heartbreaking one was the local news because apparently Jacksonville, Florida, has a big outbreak of this, and a mother and her two sons, two middle-aged sons. One was like my age in the mid-40s, and the other one was like 38. The three of them went to the hospital. She's the only one that had the vaccine. She's the only one that came home.
Mm.
Wow.
And that's
Dave,
not.
I'm gonna have
And
to
that's
jump down. I'm gonna have to jump down. Thanks for letting me up.
Hey, Taze,
Yeah.
just in case you're not aware, I made sure that you could not be timed out by anybody.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you later,
No
Rod.
problem.
Nice meeting you, TC.
Hey, Taze, it was good talking to you,
same here,
man.
Taze.
Offered a lot of good insight.
All right. Later. Oh, hey,
All right, man.
DFK, I don't know if you know this or not, because you were talking earlier about drunk driving and taking breathalyzer or blood test or whatever. Did you know that if you get pulled over and they give you a breathalyzer on the side of the road and they determine that you're over the limit and they take you in, and for some reason the breathalyzer that they have, that at the jail or wherever they give it is not working or whatever, they cannot use the breathalyzers that they gave you on the side of the road to prosecute you. Did you know
I
that?
know. I'm aware of that.
Okay. Because they're not calibrated enough.
Yeah.
It's only a tool to give them probable cause to take you in and do the other stuff. But you can
Understood.
refuse the whole thing. You can refuse
Absolutely.
to take a blood test.
Yeah.
They're not going to force it on you for something like that unless you're in an accident and injure someone or kill someone.
Oh God!
Then they might force it on you.
Do you remember that
They're
about
just
4
going
or
to take
5?
your license.
All the field sobriety tests are voluntary, which includes the PBT. But when they take you to jail because you refuse all that, and they get you to the jail, the one at the jail is calibrated regularly, and if it's not, it has to be your defense attorney can request the calibration certificates for that breathalyzer to make sure it's up to snuff. But if they don't have all their ducks in a row, then your defense attorney can say, well, this is out of whack. But when
I'm sure it's different.
When you totally refuse the breathalyzer and you refuse the field sobriety test, if they really feel they have a strong conviction against you, a possible strong conviction, they can contact a judge, and a judge can order a blood draw.
Well, DFK, they don't have to have that in order to get a conviction. That's just basically the whipped cream or the strawberry on top of the shortcake.
Right.
You know, anyway, the only state that I'm most familiar with actually is California, and they're not going to force it out of you. But you can still get convicted of it based on testimony, and at the very least, they're going to get you for what they call a wet reckless, which is a reckless driving that's caused by alcohol, and that's basically the same thing. Your insurance is going to go sky high, and it's all the same thing.
As far as that goes, my attorney absolutely fucked me in the ass. Absolutely fucked me in the ass and didn't even use fucking Vaseline.
Do y'all remember that case that happened a couple of years ago in California where the police detectives brought in an unconscious guy, and he was trying to force that nurse to do a blood draw to see if he was had alcohol in the system. She wouldn't do it.
Right.
They were trying to arrest her. Yeah, that was a trip.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Well, after a while, they threatened her, and since it was all on camera, she was actually vindicated. She didn't have to do the blood because she couldn't get the consent. The guy was unconscious. She couldn't get the consent to get the blood.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in order for them to go after a judge's order or whatever, it's going to have to involve a death or injury. It's not going to be just for a straight, DUI.
Yeah, it was just a trip to have the police lieutenant handcuffing the nurse, putting her in the back of the squad car, trying to intimidate her to get the blood draw. She wouldn't do it.
Apparently, that cop was a qualified phlebotomist, and he was going to do it. Well, I'll do it. And they go, no, you're not going to do it here.
Yeah.
Did you know that part about the cop being a phlebotomist?
No, I had no idea.
I heard nothing about that.
Yeah, you check into that. The cop was actually a qualified phlebotomist. But they go, hey, you don't work here, so you're not going to do it here.
Yeah, I don't watch like live broadcast news. I just get like most of my stuff off of YouTube.
I'm sure there's a thing on YouTube. I'm sure you can find that on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube.
About that nurse and the cops arresting her and stuff because she was doing her job, and she was doing her job by the law of her fucking employment. And it
was more than that. It was an agreement that the hospital had with the police department.
Yeah, but still, she stood up for the patient's rights as opposed to the fucking cop. And that was
well, and she had called her. She had called her supervisor, and it was on. She put it out where everybody could hear it, and her supervisor goes, "No, you're doing right. Don't take the blood."
Exactly.
Okay, I got to jump down, DFK.
All right, man. Case, it's good. It's good having you up on panel.
All right, good being here. Thanks.
Took care of your timeout possibilities. You're golden, man. But yeah, I mean, it's just like crazy. Cops are getting out of hand, and they're going to continue doing that as long as we allow it.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't filming that at the time when that whole incident went down, it may have had a very different outcome for that nurse.
Oh, it damn sure would have. Damn sure would have. There is someone that runs around the community. His channel name is Zombie Enforcement Bureau. And there was a panel that he and I were on one night. And while on the panel, out of his window, he saw the blue lights flashing. And they didn't just pass by and go away. No, they stopped. So he made the announcements, hey, everyone, I got cops outside the house. I got to go. He left his camera open. So he was still there. And he ran down and ran out the street. And he started recording, and the video is posted on his page. And it was a guy suspected, was it DUI? I'm thinking it was DUI, but I'm not positive that's what the suspected was, but they
Yeah.
pulled him over, and the guy, after the cops talked to him, had no valid license. So the cops were contemplating arresting him, impounding his car, all this shit they possibly could have done, but Zombie was just standing there silently, not saying a fucking word, not one single word, not one word got uttered out of his mouth. He was just standing there recording, and it was picked up that the cops are contemplating all these bad things that they could do to him for that situation. But here's this one guy just standing with a camera recording. They let the guy go,
Yeah.
told him not to drive his car, and the cops had the guy, I can't remember exactly how it played out, but at some point it was asked to the guy standing with the camera, will you watch this man's car to make sure nothing happens to it? He says, yep. And that was it. That was the end of the encounter. And had it not, I'm a firm believer, had it not been for him standing there with the camera recording them, that would have gone so bad for that man just because, for whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to misconstrue.
on that.
I don't want to misconstrue my. I am not anti-cop.
I am not
Uh,
anti-cop either. My great uncle was a CHP.
Yeah, I have a cousin that's CHP. I have a lot of law enforcement in my family. The problem is with like a lot of these guys with the cameras, they get a little too exuberant, trying to put the camera in the cop's face when they're trying to take care of their job. That's what people don't understand. Cops have to be hard asses in a lot of cases because they're sheepdogs keeping the wolves at bay. You know, you don't want a wimpy sheepdog taking on that wolf.
Oh, no shit.
So, yeah, and we were talking earlier about people going to the extremes. Like, well, people are bitching about the cops, so they start defunding.
You're roboting now, or you
Retiring en masse, and now you don't have people. What's happening? Yeah, people are devolving into barbarism. So you have to have that happy medium. Not saying that there shouldn't be stopgaps on a officer's powers out in the field or whatnot. Keep them from abusing their power, but just going to the full extreme that the community is going to police itself. No, that never happens. That never happens. You're gonna wind up with roaming bands of armed gang members out there patrolling their neighborhoods. That's not what we want.
And
Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna.
I am totally not anti-cop, but I am damn sure anti-bad cop. I got pulled over. Let's see, March. This is 21. I got pulled over March of 20, and I got pulled over for DUI. And when the cop pulled me over, I asked him what his reason was to pull me over. He says, I crossed the double yellow line. Okay, so now to play this back, put it in perspective, I stopped at a convenience store. I had a guy in the car with me. I stopped at a convenience store because he wanted something to drink, so I stopped. Walked in the store, there was a cop there. I knew it was going to end up bad once I saw that cop. But anyway, as it plays out, left the store, started coming back home, coming down the hill. Just before I made a right turn, I look in my rear view mirror. I see the red and blue lights flashing, racing up on me. I turn the corner, cop's right behind me. Okay, so it's me. He's coming after. I pull over and stop. I asked him why he stopped me. He says, because you crossed the double yellow line. Well, you let me up before there were any double yellow lines, so that's invalid. So what is your probable cause? And shit goes on and on and on. As it turns out, the cop that pulled me over had corporal stripes. The first one to show up for backup was a sergeant. The
Yeah.
sergeant was the one that opened up the back door of my car, tased me from the back seat of my car as I'm in the driver's seat, while the corporal has already opened my door and put me in a restraining wrist lock. But I'm tased inside of my car while giving the submission moves. Anyway, long story short, got out of jail. I contacted an attorney. The attorney I contacted was a former district attorney. He got a hold of the body cam footage, and he agreed with me that my civil rights were violated, which I already fucking knew. But
Yeah.
apparently, my state has a 6-month statute of limitations. I was pulled over in March. My original court date was set for June 15th. As fate would have it, my mother passed on June 15th. So I missed my court date. I contacted my attorney, got that all situated where I did not get an FTA. But my attorney, being a former DA, should have known there was a 6-month statute of limitations for a civil case.
Let me ask you this: Are you of the Caucasian persuasion?
Yes.
Okay. Did you inform the sergeant that you have your white privilege and he cannot tase you in the car?
Oh no, I failed to do that.
Oh well, see that's why that's to get out of jail. You got to pull out the white privilege card. Say, officer, I am Caucasian, 100%, and you're not supposed to tase me. He didn't listen very well, did he?
That's my fault.
Oh, okay.
But this incident happening in March of 20, even though my state has a 6-month statute of limitation, federal law still says 2 years. So I need to get this related to a federal claim, because definitely my rights were violated. My criminal attorney failed miserably at his job, and that's giving him credit. That's a feather in his cap that he just failed miserably. He failed horrendously. But there was no physical evidence. They had no field sobriety tests. They had no blood draw. They had no breath analysis. Nothing. There was no physical evidence. Nothing that could be represented in court other than officer testimony. On my stop, there were 4 officers. The corporal that pulled me over, the sergeant that showed up as the first one for backup, and 2 new recruits. And after they tased me inside of my car, pulled me out of my car, and threw me to the ground and handcuffed me, the very first thing I did was look at those 2 new recruits and told them, it says, do not idolize these 2. These 2, if you act the way they do, they're going to get you killed.
Well, I'm glad you had the. I'm glad you still have. You're still with it. But if I was tased like that, I'd be like I'd be drooling all over the ground, while they're putting the handcuffs on me. Oh man, did they wind up dropping the charges?
No, I got prosecuted. I absolutely got prosecuted. Like I said, my attorney failed miserably. There was no physical evidence. None. Absolutely fucking none. He could have beat that so easily, but he didn't want to fucking work. He already had my money. What was his motive to do anything more?
Man, that's brutal.
Yeah. So now I want to turn this into a federal claim, still naming the officers that responded to that call and my attorney for what's the term I'm looking for? Inadequate defense. So I mean, seriously, what the fuck did he do? He took my money and just copped the very first fucking plea that came around. No, that's not okay. That's not okay.
So what were the
That's-
ramifications? Did they wind up suspending your license? Did you have to do time or anything? Or
Yeah, I did jail time. I got my fines. I got all my DUI classes and shit like this. And it's like, this case should have gone away before this ever came into play. If my attorney had done his job adequately, it would have gone away.
that's
But
a kick in the balls right there.
I have
That is a
had
kick in the balls.
I've had DUI convictions in the past where I actually damn sure deserved them, but this was not one. This was not one of those. And I admit my shit. I admit it. Unlike other owners, I own my shit. I've seen other kennel owners say that, but I own my shit. This was not one I should have been convicted of. But just because that cop pissed me off as bad as he did, no, I was not going to comply with anything he fucking said. I figured, no, I'll refuse everything. I'll refuse a field sobriety test. I refuse a breathalyzer. And when I get to jail, I refuse it then. Then he can go through the fucking steps necessary to get a fucking warrant signed by a judge to order a blood draw. I knew that was coming, but he fucking failed it. So the cop failed on his job because that option is damn sure open to him. But he fucking failed, and my attorney failed to fight for me. So now I just need to find a civil attorney, and yeah, I got only 5 months left to actually get it done.
Are you going to be able to? You going to be able to find representation in time?
I don't know. I need to find a civil attorney that will take this because it's there. It is absolutely there. I've got the video disc of the body or the body cam footage of that night.
Yeah.
So I've got the disc. So there's video documentation of everything.
Well, I mean, it's a long shot, but have you reached out to the ACLU?
Actually, no, I haven't.
I mean, that's kind of what they specialize in. I mean, you can try to see. I mean, because a lot of their cases are pro bono. So
yeah, and see, shortly after, oh shoot, when was it? I think no, it must have been like March or January or March of the following year. I was trying to get in contact with my attorney to ask about the civil case, and I was just getting his secretary. I never was able to talk to him. So finally, I saw some ad or something somewhere for some civil attorney, and I called him up, left a message. They called me back and they were asking about it, and I told them what happened. He says, "And when did this happen?" And I told him when it happened. And while I'm talking to him, he says, "Well, sounds like you got a really good case. But unfortunately, the state you live in has a 6-month limit of liabilities for police misconduct." And I'm thinking, well, since the criminal attorney that I hired had been a former DA, shouldn't he been aware of that to make sure he had all the proper filings in order because he was aware of everything and knew that there was a civil case there?
Well, that's probably
That's
probably part of the problem. He was a DA, he was a prosecutor, and he knows all these guys. He knows the corporals and the sergeants and the brass and in the local police area. So,
which is exactly why I'm thinking he needs to be named as a co-defendant in the whole freaking matter.
So he probably knew these guys at least on a working basis, and he probably didn't want to go after his friends and make them look bad. So yeah, I would recommend the ACLU. I don't know if they're going to pick up the case or not, but that would be definitely one of the first go-to places if I had a case like that and I didn't have the funds for the representation. So
yeah, and I think maybe I need to get in contact with them soon because the federal police misconduct is 2 years, and we're like 4 5 months outside of that.
Exactly. So yeah, if you have all the documents like you said, yeah, I would just plead your case with them to see if that would give you adequate representation and see if they could take your case to the appellate judge or something. I don't know. I don't. It's sad that you had to go through them. So I'm
Yeah, I understand.
and,
And I mean, it's a shit show from day one. Something that never should have fucking happened.
yeah.
But it is what it is now, and now it's at stage where it is, where it has to be, and appellate is like the only option. But
Well, I mean, since you did the time, is everything at least back to normal somewhat prior to the incident?
well, let's see. I guess like the real problem is I am faced with a permanent or a lifetime revocation of my driver's license.
Oh, yeah.
And the only problem
Yeah.
with that is my job is like 30 miles away from home. But my attorney says, well, a lifetime revocation means 10 years. You can apply for a hardship. That don't fucking help me in the here and now.
Yeah, I know sometimes I make allowances going to and from work for as far as the licenses go.
Yeah, but that's what a hardship is.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know,
what
man.
a hardship
I mean,
qualifies for.
I would definitely be looking at that or any other civil rights groups in the area. I mean, I don't know where you live, so I don't. Usually the metropolitan areas have more options. So, but I would definitely at least reach out to them to see if they would even take a look at the case. See what they can do with it. I mean, especially if your license is on the line. Yeah. You need to fight like hell to keep that.
Yeah, and I think the ACLU would be like the best place to start because since they're like nationwide, I'm sure they would have little fingerprints here and there and people that would be more familiar with the like local laws and stuff like that in order to help.
Right, but that's where I would start. But I wouldn't only reach out to that. I would do some research. I would get the old Googler going and find out other lawyers in your area that may be willing to do it for pro bono or at least a reduced rate to help you out. But I definitely would not sit on that. If you have a legitimate case and you got the evidence to support your case, especially with your license on the line, man, I would be. You need to fight for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's mandatory because I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to just like do a horse and buggy to and from work every day, and to try and walk to and from my job 30 miles away, that's not a feasible option. And taking the taxi cab, shit, that'd be worse than staying at home. I'd end up losing money every day I went to work.
Yeah. Not everyone lives in a major city that has public transit, so.
Oh, and they don't have any around. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. They do, but it's not a regular schedule, and it's only here. It doesn't go from where I live to where my job is.
Right.
So yeah, there are definite limitations, and I could not make the same amount of money in the town that I live in as to where I'm at now.
Well, like the old telephone ads, for the phone books, the yellow pages, let your fingers do the walking. I would definitely be doing that with the Googler.
Oh yeah, and I got to make time for that. But the only problem is the only weekday that I have off is Monday, so I have one day of the week to do all this shit.
No, I mean, are you off on the weekends?
Yes, but most places that work like bankers' hours are closed.
Yeah. Well, what you do is you take one day, like on the weekend, to do the research and compile all the numbers and email addresses. Or if they have emails, you can just go ahead and start launching emails out. And then on your weekday off, you can follow up and make the phone calls and whatnot. But don't waste your weekend not compiling the information. So don't let that stop you.
Yeah, it's just a matter of actually dedicating myself to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's your license on the line, man. I would definitely find the time.
No, actually, it's my life on the line.
Well, both. Yeah, yeah. They're not separate from each other. It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need to find the time. Hell, I would do it tomorrow. If you're off on the weekend, I would start tomorrow.
Well, no, I get my grandkids tomorrow, and I'm so happy about that. Oh my God, I'm happy to get my grandkids.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
You
I'm
have a
excited about that.
little pop-out time.
It takes a lot for me to get excited, but my grandkids can do it every time. Oh yeah, I'm right now with this thought looming over me about getting my grandkids. I'm happier than a pig in shit.
Are y'all gonna be able to do anything? I mean, is there like a park nearby they can go play at that y'all walk to, or?
Well, let's see. They got like a yearly event going on in the town that I'm in, but they also have like a little closer to me, like a little carnival set up.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but my grandkids are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it'd be a matter of walking like a mile and a half to get to it, and then a mile and a half back, because the taxi cabs or the taxi services around here, they cannot seat 7 passengers.
Yeah, and you don't want to be carrying the 2, 3, and the 4-year-olds. You know they're going to be whining by the end of the day because they're going to be running around that carnival. They're going to be exhausted. You better. Do you have one of those little red wagons you can pull them in?
Well, I'm actually thinking when my daughter brings them here to drop them off, maybe I'll let her take my car and leave hers, where her car has all the car seats for everybody, and then we just use hers. That'd probably be a better option.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be a much better option. Now that I think about it, then nobody's got to walk with anybody.
Yeah, because you know how whiny they get, man. I have a little boy, so yeah, they're all gung ho, and they're gonna play their asses off there, and then by the time they're done, man, the funnel cake's wearing off. They've rid all their rides 5 times a piece, and they're exhausted. They're not gonna want to walk that mile and a half. They're gonna be whining the whole way.
Yeah.
Papa, carry me.
Yeah, and I can see shit. The 3 girls doing that. The 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. The youngest 3 are girls. The oldest 3 are boys. So yeah, I can see that. So yeah, I think that's a better option. Sweetheart, leave your Yukon here. Take my car. Yeah, that sounds like a much better idea.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, and it's probably going to cost me about $200, something like that. I don't care. My grandkids are going to be happy. I'm happy with it.
That's just to get into the gate. Then you have to pay for all the games and whatnot.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive day, but my grandkids are worth it.
There you go. That's why you love them and they're worth it. And that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and I'm actually excited to have them. I really am. I do not get enough Papa time. Actually, my daughter got like a silk screening thing for like shirts and stuff.
Yeah. And
I told her, I want one that says GIPA, GIPPA, because that's what my now 4-year-old granddaughter called me like 2 years ago. And I always remembered that. She'd always call me Gipa. 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 Fuck yeah, that's my favorite word. Out of all the names I've been called, that is my absolute favorite. So yeah.
Yeah, they're a real joy to be around, man. Having a child was the best thing to happen in my life.
Yeah. And they can tug at your heartstrings, and when they get sad, they look at you. It's like, oh, your heart just melts. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they get older, and they know all the buttons to push.
Yeah, and it's like, who the fuck are you, and what hell did you come from?
Well, I guess that's a good thing about being a grandparent. When they start acting up, you just
Yeah.
hand it back to the parents. Here
Here
you
you
go.
go, Mom. Get them away. Get them away. Take the demon spawn with you. Just get them away. Yeah. All right.
Well, man, it was a real pleasure talking to you, and thank you for letting me on the show. But I'm about to go get my trailer loaded, so
absolutely.
I'll have to
And
drop you.
just so you know, next time you come around, you can't be timed out. You got a wrench, so you're golden here.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, and I appreciate your time. I damn sure thank you for all your insight and
Yeah, it was fun.
knowledge based response to stuff and everything going on. So I appreciate having you around, man. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'll catch your next show.
All right. Thank you very much for coming by. And you have a great day.
All right.
All right. Peace out, brother. All right. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you, everybody, for coming by. Thank you for coming to visit DFK. Always appreciated. No idea what the next show is going to be about. Never have enough time to plan them out. They just happen when they happen. Again, thank you all for stopping by. Thank you for coming visit. Hope each and every one of you has a great day. Hope you make the best of it. Hope you make somebody smile. Hope somebody makes you smile. Take care, everybody. Love each and every one of you. Peace out.